My name is Rochelle, and this is my presentation for our assignment and assessments in special education. So, the first question kind of dealt with least restrictive environment. So, teachers are required to find the least restrictive environment for students with disabilities. So in most cases, there are a lot of pieces to this puzzle, and each student has a unique set of needs. So according to the Individuals with Disabilities Act of 2004, children with disabilities should be educated alongside their non-disabled peers to the greatest extent possible. Special classrooms, separate schools, or special education services are only advisable when the regular classroom setting is not sufficient for children to succeed. So this means that once a child qualifies for special education services, he or she is not automatically put into special education classrooms. It is up to the individual education plan, the IEP team, to determine the least restrictive environment, which refers not only to the physical placement, but also the education services and instructions. So least restrictive is the setting where the education takes place. Least restrictive environment is where a child spends the entire day in a general education class and gets supports and services like a tutor, an aide, assistive technology, related services, or any other sort of accommodations. The school district must consider all supplemental aids and services necessary for the student to achieve educational benefits prior to recommending a more restrictive environment. So students with disabilities cannot be removed from age-appropriate regular classrooms solely based off of needed modifications in the general education curriculum, and that students must be educated in the school they would attend if they were non-disabled, unless the IEP requires some other arrangement. Okay, so the second one, why is assessment a cycle, and what are the components of the special education process? So to me, an assessment is a constant cycle of improvement. So after implementing an assessment plan and measuring student learning outcomes, these measurements need to be analyzed. They need to analyze the results obtained and then use those results to make necessary changes or any improvements. The goal of assessments is to provide, one, a clear student learning outcomes, intended learning student outcomes, sorry. How to use outcomes being assessed and measured. How are those results obtained from these measures? And followed by how these results validate current practices or what needs to change to improve the student's learning. So this cycle helps in aiding professionals in determining eligibility, program planning, and the evaluations. So the components are that clearly define, the components of the process would be to clearly define and identify the learning outcomes. Select appropriate assessment measures and assess the learning outcomes. Analyze the results of the outcomes assessed, and then adjust or improve your programs following the results of the learning outcomes assessed. I think I skipped a page. Let me go back. Here we go. Describe at least 5 ways to encourage families to be involved in the special education process. So I found that 5 of them that I thought were ways to encourage families. You treat parents as your partners. Let the parents know you are genuinely interested in what they have to say. So work with the parents to set their participation goals and maintain an open door policy and welcome them when they come to school. Welcome them in when they come to school. Make them feel like they're at home. Another one would be to create effective communication system. So connect at the beginning of the year to ask parents what information they want, how they want that received, and then the same would also go for the teacher. Have the teacher ask the parents or explain to the parents what they may need or want from them. Also creating a welcoming climate that always invites parents into the classroom. So be able to provides ways for the parents to maybe volunteer. They could do this in several different ways. It could be within a classroom event or something that they could help with at home. You need to be able to gain their trust by doing what you say, and creating a safe environment for their kids also goes along with your climate. Ask families for their ideas. Parents are invaluable. They have lots of information and they can help you with their child's experiences and what skills they have. So reach out to them. The 5th one would be respectful. So when I talk about be respectful, I'm talking about like of their time, maybe their culture, and take the time to research or ask questions. Be courteous, and of course be non-judgmental. Okay, so the last slide, the last question, compare and contrast 3 types of derived scores and tell how the scores are related to one another and to the normal distribution. So a derived score is a numerical description of an individual's performance in terms of norms. So the sustained distribution is divided into 9 segments, or it's called the standard 9. So it represents a range of performance rather than a specific score. The data they provide are less precise than those of a standard score. The percentile ranks range in value from 1 to 99. The percentile ranks for a particular raw score indicate the percentage of individuals within the norm group who achieve this raw score or a lower score. Percentile ranks are fairly easy to understand as long as you don't compare them to percentages. Standard scores are usually for comparing the performance of the same individual on different measures. They also provide a standard scale for reporting norms of various age and grade. So a standard score is a set of scores with the same mean and standard deviation. So by converting the raw scores into a standard score, it allows the scores to be compared. So in assessment, percentile ranks are very important because they indicate how well a child did when compared to the norms on a test. Knowing that a child had a percentile rank of 97 on a test would tell you that he is exceptional in that testing area. And yet, knowing he got a percentile rank of 7 would tell you that this may be an area of weakness. Scores are related because they all allow comparisons of a child's performance on different types of tests. They also help estimate a child's strengths and weaknesses compared to their overall ability and allow estimation of a child's skill on a test compared to other students of their age or grade. This photo illustrates the relationship among sustains, percentile rates, and other standard scores. It lists the percentages of cases expected to fall within each sustain if raw scores are normally distributed. So the bell curve is used to provide visual reference of evaluation results. It demonstrates where a student performs on a scale in the various areas that are used to determine the student's strengths or the weaknesses. So the standard score, either on the positive or negative side, or the mean, which is 100, states that 15-point standard deviation away from the mean is 1 standard deviation. The rank becomes a standard score of 85 to 115, which shows that they fall within the average range. Percentile is a score that is compared to others. If a student falls at or above 50%, then this shows that that is an area of strength. If the student falls below, then that shows the area of weakness. Sustain has a mean of 5. So if a student score 6 or better, then that shows the strengths. And if it shows 4 or lower, then that shows that's an area of weakness. So in general, the purpose of assessment scores is to compare a student's performance to that of a norm group.